How does light forming look in slow motion? What would it look like if we could see the order in which nature paints its picture of life, one femto frame at a time, and by using these techniques, be able to see around corners, allowing for real breakthroughs in medical technology, space exploration, and disaster response? Using femto-photography techniques developed by a team of experts at MIT, these applications are not far from becoming a practical reality in today's world. So join us as we sit down with Andreas Velten at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where we share some exciting new advancements in the world of femto-photography.
Femto-photography is really the notion of what happens if you have a camera that can capture at a speed that is close to the speed of light, where you can actually see light move through a scene, which gives you additional information that a regular camera doesn't have. And femto-photography is first about capturing and visualizing that information, and then of course about when we have that, what we'll be able to do with it.
This created a new breed of research and development techniques, including the realization of potential uses this technology may be able to employ in the future.
The original goal of my work, my postdoc at MIT, was this ability, investigate the ability of seeing around corners using time of flight in the imaging system. But as we started analyzing the data, and also in the conversations with the sponsors and the visitors at the Media Lab who are not experts, and trying to explain to them what this camera does and how fast the sensor is and everything, we started to get more and more into the video lingo. We're trying to explain this, we're capturing this really fast data. And then at some point we started thinking, well, why don't we just try to make a video, and what would it look like? And could we use this equipment to do this?
And it was used. The results were fascinating. Velten and his team at MIT were able to capture a slow-motion video of a light ray actually forming.
So the Coke bottle that is filled with water with a drop of milk, so we have some scattering so we can actually see the beam, and then it's basically like as if you shine a laser pointer into the bottle and it hits the cap. And in the video you can see the laser pulse entering the bottle, moving through, it disappears behind the label, you see it hitting the cap, then there's light, scattered light of the cap goes out, you see that hitting the floor on the bottle, you see some very interesting caustic effects on the floor. There's a little air on the top of the bottle, you see light trapped in there, and then eventually the light scatters back to the bottom of the bottle. So you basically see the illumination of the bottle as it happens, as the image of the bottle is formed by the light. I think that's a very exciting movement in this entire field that I think in a large part was actually spurred by people seeing these videos and looking and being inspired by them, which I think is really the biggest contribution of the paper.
And people are taking notice. One of the team's most interested organizations is none other than the king of space exploration themselves, NASA.
We have a project where investigating whether this method is useful for looking into caves on the moon from a satellite, sending light pulses in, studying the light echo coming out of the cave to get an image of the inside of the cave, even though you can't look in that directly.
Besides space exploration, many other applications are in current development phases, including disaster response efforts, medical technology, and self-driving vehicles.
I think the disaster response is definitely something like firefighters or police or something. That is something we're very interested in, we're pushing towards. And I think that's something that the current hardware that we demonstrate in the lab already could definitely do that. So we're very interested in medical applications, robotic surgery, where you have a very limited field of view or very limited ability to place cameras into the scene, but you want to get 3D geometry of as much of the scene as you can. Similar challenges you have in manufacturing, where you have a part and an environment that's constantly changing. Any kind of machinery with moving parts, looking into an engine, aircraft turbine, where you can't react and place cameras. Self-driving cars is another very big one, right? Navigation, I think since the self-driving cars are moving forward at such a speed, that may be actually a very big application.
So what does the future hold in the world of femto-photography, and how soon can we expect it?
I think we now have a clear path towards consumer application. This original experiment that was in the paper was something that was done with equipment that would never leave that lab because it was way too big and power hungry and needed chilled water cooling and all kinds of stuff, and it was $500,000. But we're now to the point where we say within maybe a few years, or at least within a decade, we'll be able to have devices that could go on a consumer device and be small enough to carry around with you and things like that, and that can be sold and marketed.
Find out more in Imaging the Propagation of Light through Scenes at Picosecond Resolution, a research highlights article featured in the September 2016's Communications of the ACM.